see it, you're going to want to do more of them.
And I'm not doubting the merit here. I'm just trying to be responsive to some of the concerns. And so maybe I'll just turn it to the city attorney. Is there something that we could do just so our, our residents understand that this is to benefit the city? Because I don't think it's clear. I mean, I understand there's like 20, well, there's like 49 requirements here, but there isn't anything specific to say this is going to benefit the city. Is that even required? Or because if we're going to put our names to it, it does look a little odd because, for example, the Kiwanis Club, we've been doing it for like 77 years. The city does partner with us. However, we always put down, you know, all proceeds go to high school scholarships in the city of San Gabriel. We're very specific, and that's where the monies are going. Is that something that would be appropriate here, or do you have any ideas? So if there are questions, if people put in requests, you know, we can say, look, this is where the money is. This is how much it made. Just to be responsive, because we are providing. Although I think our police and fire would have been there anyway, public works, but there is some cost here. It's nominal, but I'm just trying to find ways to be responsive.
Sure. Excellent question. The council has the ability, the authority to waive the fees if you decide that that is the route you want to take. For example, in exchange for a share of net profits, I assume, after costs are paid. What that number is, you know,
Yeah,
250,000 was mentioned, but it could be $1 million or it could be $50.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But certainly along with the permit, if the council votes in that direction, we could structure a small agreement that simply says that, you know, 50% of their net revenue would be donated to police and fire or whatever council.
And in exchange, the city would
will
waive the fees.
right.
We will provide promotion, whether through our social media, through our, you know, all our different communication methods.
I think that would be great.
Well, I'm just asking, Sammy. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I mean, I'm suggesting it, but because we are a city, we can't be as, you know, we have to be very concise.
With a clear understanding that the larger fingerprint of the city, the larger the fingerprint of the city is on this event, the greater level of exposure we have should anything go wrong.
Okay, because that's what you're asking. You want the city to have their fingerprint. Isn't that what you're asking?
I do. I've been
Yeah,
in my
that's what I
city for
thought.
40 years here. Why wouldn't we benefit it better? Why don't we build it better?
No, and I mean, that's, well, anyway, I just want to make sure it's understood that if we put our name on there, you know, what do we have to do as a city? Because I don't think the issue is the event, to be perfectly, I think, you know, we want this event, but as a city, what do we need to do to make sure that the monies do come back, and that if there's any concerns from the residents, that we've done our due diligence and we've worked with the Stuntman's Association, and we're working towards having the monies come back to our city.
Certainly, an agreement which also probably sets out some fashion of monitoring or auditing the event, you know,
Well, that's a
revenue
lot
versus
more work.
expenses.
Yeah.
I mean, you depending on the level of detail that the council wishes to accomplish through such an agreement, it would require a lot more work and a lot more monitoring, auditing, etc.
Isn't there something more simple than that? Just
Yes, I mean, that isn't your direction will be followed if you wish to have a very simple agreement that simply says that whatever net revenue there is from the event, 50% of it will go to the city in exchange for
whatever Mike, I mean,
right.
Sammy said. I mean, he said 50%.
Whatever, yeah, I think
whatever.
he did, yeah.
Without, we don't have to provide a number, but meaning he said 500,000. Let's say it's less. It's just a percentage.
That's correct.
And so
there is no need for a number because we don't have one.
we don't know.
Yeah.
But I also want to clarify, it's not going to the city, it's going to other agencies also, not just the city.
Yeah, well, me mention the police officers, I consider city, fire is city, K-9 is city, but there
Humane
are other
Society,
local
La
organizations.
Casa, yeah.
And so that's why I'm not, I don't want it be restrictive, but at the same time, at least we're able to share that with our community, that this is where I think it's great for promotion too. If people could see it, they'll feel more connected.
Can I offer something? As far as clarity, Denise, that was a great question. And the Stuntmen's Association is a nonprofit, and they have it in accounting department. So I'm sure the clarity and the budget and all that, and the percentage, they'll be more than willing to talk to you about that.
Okay. Well, not me, the city.
The city, correct, the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be easy just to add a condition.
Yeah, like a conditional approval or
No,
some
add a condition
sort,
like out
or-
of the, not that we don't have enough conditions.
I know, or
But
down
we
with.
only have 49, I think we need 50.
Thanks, John.
So, but something along the lines of, there'll be a full accounting of all funds, and 50% shall go to the Stuntmen's Association, 50%
Yeah, something
shall go
simple, but at
to
least
nonprofits.
accountable,
For
and I
sure.
know you're comfortable with that, Sandy.
I have no problem. That's how come I
Yeah.
brought it up.
And
That's
that
the
that's
whole
a simple
event.
fix. You don't have to have a giant legal contract. You can just say 50% shall go to.
Well, we can just add it as number
Condition
50.
yeah.
Then,
Draft
So,
up.
this whole event, why we're putting it together, why we're doing it here, number one, to grow our city. Number two, to grow the Stuntmen's Association and galvanize us together. Look, you guys watch us on TV every single night. Every major motion picture you guys go to and watch at the theater, we're doing all the stunts. We're the ones who bring in the talent to the table. We're the ones who are putting everything at risk and putting it on the line. All we're asking for is to work with us with it. I mean, it's costing each and every stunt player a lot of money to bring their talent out and do it. They're all willing to do it. We just want you all to work with us so we can put on a great show for our city, benefit the city, and then maybe later on you guys sit and talk about it and say, let's put on a bigger event. And we put on a huge event here. Maybe we do it at the schools, and we do each school, we benefit them, just like I was doing in Texas. The teenagers that were getting good grades and the ones that were getting D's and F's, if they brought their grades up, Sammy Maloof, Hollywood stuntman, got to go out to Austin, Texas, Round Rock, Texas, Pflugerville, Georgetown, McKinney, Texas, all through Texas, and give those kids training in cars, in car control. The end of the middle of next month, or is it the 6th of next August? No, August the 6th, where I go to the Marine Corps base. I mean October. October 6th, I'm going to Camp Pendleton to train 250 Marines in car control. That's what I do. So why couldn't we train our children? The number one killer in the United States is car accidents. Teenagers. They kill themselves in cars because they have no vehicular control. So why not utilize our talents to go train them in car control? I don't understand this, because who qualifies the plumbers that are retired and the electricians that are retired to go train somebody to drive? As far as we're concerned, as drivers, as stuntmen in our vehicular controls, vehicular stunts is our specialty. There is nobody better in this world to train anybody in vehicular control than a Hollywood stuntman who's professional in stunt driving. That's car control.
well, I just want to clarify, anything relating to the schools, we don't have jurisdiction over, so you can say that for the school district.
Well, if
For
they
right
want
now,
to say-
let's focus on the city, and so I do prefer the suggestion of just adding number 50 and some kind of accounting. I'm not sure if you can come up with some quick language right now so we can, because I like to move to approve, but if I would like to add that as amended. What would it be?
Certainly, if something as simple as 50% of the net revenue will be dedicated to the city and local nonprofits.
I would have said a little different, but yeah.
Well,
Well,
I think we should keep using the same language. The applicant shall provide a true and correct accounting. 50% of the net revenue shall be, or 100% shall be split as follows: 50% to the Stuntmen's Association, 50% to local nonprofits and the city of San Gabriel.
Okay, sounds
Now-
great.
Now, will I be able to delegate those to those different ones? so that I make sure that each and every one of them get what they need?
Yeah, because we're
Under my
making it
control?
so generic, it's local.
Yeah, we're not splitting the
Yeah.
50%, we're just
You
saying.
get- you get
if
to
the
split.
split is down the middle.
I get to, delegate it to the, if I want to put the police department and the fire department in, okay.
Because it falls under local charities and
Yes.
city
Yeah.
Agencies.
I want to make sure
So you have a
everyone is
lot of
treated absolutely
flexibility.
fair,
Yeah,
yes.
we're not delineating how that 50% is divided up, it's just
Got it.
that it's divided up.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
so oh, I'm sorry,
I
Mayor.
see.
Mayor
Okay.
has a few
So
questions.
Yes, sir.
first, for this event, I think I saw it's a really great event. Actually, I think a couple years ago I go to your shop some event. It really impressed for
Thank
me.
you so
okay.
much.
Okay, it's community, especially our San Gabriel. I really encourage you for myself to. I think my colleague encourage the public the event to help our resident have the more choice, more enjoyment, especially for your event. Okay.
Thank you.
The question is like because talking about split. Okay, what's your estimate? How much the cost of how much the fund you can raise up? But you mentioned the 500,000.
So my thing is this, what's better, one person giving you 100% or hundreds of people giving you 1%? So the more outreach we do, the people you know, people that I know, and your friends that know, the more they give into it, the more we're gonna get. When I go to Texas, this is what I tell them. You get 250 people, they give $250. There's 62,500. You give 500 people to give $250, there's 120 grand. Well, everyone that we know are gonna know people. So it multiplies. So it's very easy to get people to give $250. We don't ask them, we say, we need you to do this. This is how it works. So every one of our friends, they're not gonna give to the city, but they're gonna give to us. Why? Because they know what we do. Your friends are gonna give to you. So it's relatively easy to generate it, as long as we have, like I said, all you guys, all you folks working with us, and all of our folks working with you, I promise you, this will be a big event, and it'll be a prosperous event. Do you want to say something?
So you say the $250 is for each attendee or for each
Oh, no, that's
sponsor?
just a donation.
Donation.
That's just donations.
Okay.
And it's a suggested donation, they can give more if they want, but I would like
Okay.
to see them to give $250.
Okay.
It's simple. Now, here's the other thing. There's gonna be giveaway stuff. In other words, there's a raffle ticket, we've done this many times, and not a raffle, a giveaway ticket, so they would purchase a ticket, and it qualifies them to have 8 hours with me, 2 hours of mentorship, 2 hours of stunt driving, 2 hours of dinner time, and 2 hours with their family members. So they get to drive the car. They get to drive that stunt car. I train them for 2 hours in a stunt car. So we have tickets that they buy. It's $5 or $10 or $20. Who wouldn't want to pay $20 and qualify themselves to go for a ride in a stunt car and learn how to drive that car? It's simple. People say, well, I don't know, I'd be afraid, but there's the teenagers, the young adults, and some of the older adults, that's something they want to do.
But excuse me, I just want to clarify, it's free to the public.
They
It's
come in
only if
free.
they want to buy these tickets,
That's
right?
for the
Okay.
donators, yes.
Okay.
It's free to the public. It's free to the city of San Gabriel,
Okay.
anybody else that comes.
Okay. This kind of event, if for you're asking that they $250 the donation,
The sponsors.
a sponsor, did you have any like example for previous examples how much you can make it?
Well, it depends
It's
on
for
how many
the- for-
people are gonna come, how many people are gonna give. But we've done it all through
So I
Texas.
did you have any experience for the past the event because you told us you have the event all over the country, right? So it's
We have events that we've put all through Texas. And yes, they benefit, because when we
Okay.
do them for churches, we don't take the money. We come out and we do it for them.
Yeah,
We
but
don't
total
split it.
how much the donation you raised it for the past
That's
event?
up to them, huh? Every event is different. That's them. They're the ones who give into that event. We come out and we put it on.
Okay.
So, but
So-
if you really stop and think about it,
So right now, you don't have any example
I don't-
to.
I gave you
to-
the example of what we do when we go out there. But do
okay.
I have their accounting? No, but I could probably request it.
Uh-huh. So do your association have any idea?
Our
regarding-
association, this is the first time our association is doing this with us.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
You
yeah, we have a golf tournament every year. A golf tournament every year. I can't tell you how much the golf tournament generates. We don't have those numbers, but
Okay.
it generates a lot. We do it
Yeah.
every year for them.
Okay. Yeah.
Anytime you're giving back, this is what we've learned. If we can give and involve the people, they're going to show up and they're going to give.
Yeah.
They have no problem doing it for the youth. They have no problem doing it for the community. It's hard for them to get to give to the church itself, a church, but when it's a community outreach at a church, they have no problem giving.
Yeah.
So it's just the way the people are wired. And when they know that they can be part of it in a car, going for rides,
Okay.
they have no problem with that.
You know why I asking that I involve a lot of community event to host a lot of community event and have some experience. I like it, also like your idea. Okay, that's the same my pace. I want to do the community service for the event to help to raise the money for our police, fire, K9, right? Okay, and the rest of the local the nonprofit organization. So. I asking because looks like it's a very good the event based on your estimate like 500,000. That's for me. It's for my event. I don't have this kind of chance to reach this kind of goal. I wish I can reach this goal too. So that's why asking. Did you have any example? I really want to learning from you to help our community to even I think we have like a La Casa or San Gabriel AYC, San Gabriel, the S Education Foundation, right? And we also have the like a Hero Christian Center, Chinese Chinatown Service Center, AYC. A lot of the local nonprofit organization. I think it was same to your heart. My heart also wanted to help them, help our community, especially this 2 years, the pandemic. So if for this one, for this event, did you have any idea? So right now, just focus on which one, the organization, maybe for our police or for our fire, maybe, yeah, you can choose whatever I suggesting, but it's okay. But if you have some more little bit specific for the organization, maybe more help for the community to understand it. This time, we just focus for the K9, right? So just
Well, you know what,
anything, and the rest of it, you just make your own decision. Maybe I have this kind of suggestion. So I don't know rest of council member okay or not, but just so that a community they understand it. Oh, that's good event and help our community. Yeah.
Mayor, I love that, but I think that would be something you should all talk about. Because I listed the people that I would be more than happy to help out. And I even said if there's others that you would like to talk to me about, let's sit down and talk about it. I would love to generate as much as I can. That's how come there's wisdom in a multitude of counsel, and the more people that we get together that give into the event, the more we're going to be able to be a blessing to the event and to the people that come.
Okay.
I think there was a little confusion on when he mentioned the 500,000. I think it wasn't like a specific number. He just said like an example, So
Okay.
it's not that
That's
they're gonna.
it's a hope, right?
Well, you
That's-
got to
Go-
think
He
big.
wants it. To,
Okay.
yeah.
gotta
All
think
right.
big.
Okay.
He wants
so,
it to be that much.
Okay. That's even $1 million, right? Okay. All right.
I'm right with you. That's
yeah,
even a better event.
Yeah. Is it any you have the minimum goal? Like for example, I just don't want to go to too higher. Maybe 100,000, right? So did you have an idea? Because
I don't even have an idea because
yeah.
look,
The city,
before tonight, I didn't even know if you guys are going to
okay.
okay it.
Yeah, if the city name on that, so the councilmember Menchanga mentioned, so is it who will be focused to the like social media, okay, the PR for your event. So that's important too.
PR,
It's who's the responsibility? It's our city's responsibility have to do spread out this wording. Okay, help welcome. I definitely I want to do it. If yeah everybody do it, it's fine. But I just want to clarify, it's the city have this kind of responsibility or not? That's yeah,
It's not
obligate,
every-
yeah.
Yeah, we're not
Obligated.
obligated, but we would, if we approve it, I'm guessing we
Sure, you'd
would
help.
offer to promote it.
Yeah,
from the
city, we can, you could use the city, city website to,
Right.
but that's our resource, but I think it's very important for them, the resource, their association should be,
Right.
they have own
Their own.
outreach, right?
So that would work better because then more people would, you know,
Yeah.
know about it.
Mayor, they are already promoting it.
Okay.
The Stuntman Association
Okay.
has, well, not only them, but Maloof
Mm.
also has their own social media machine out there.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's collaboratively, we would all help
Okay,
out. And
okay.
I just wanted to mention what we stated under number 50.
Mhm.
I think intentionally it's very broad. It's the
Mm.
first time, and I
Mhm.
think they've already listed some of the organizations to kind of pin it down even more.
Mhm.
I'm not as comfortable with that. I'm comfortable them identifying it,
Mhm.
and you know, there's already some accountability here with number 50, that there would be some kind of accounting of the funds. I think leaving it general, at least for this time, and then when we do it again, you know, we'll learn a lot from it. It's our first time after 40 years of being in business. I'd rather give a little bit more, just be more general as opposed to more
Yeah.
restrictive, because I know Maloof doesn't like to be restricted.
Yeah.
So this is kind
it
of
should, yeah.
And this
I
is the
also
first
know
time,
the-
oh, sorry, Mayor. This
sorry.
is the first time a reality show is coming to our city as well.
Okay. So I don't want to restrict it, but just let some public to understand it, you know, some maybe, so that's why I say if you say restrict, okay, but maybe city set up as a very simple, the goal, okay, probably for how much for our costs, the city, if staff plus the permission costs, how much you think is it correct? Yeah, you know.
We would have to calculate the staff time and our hourly rates and
Uh-huh.
any overtime, so
Okay.
I don't have that at this time, but
Okay.
certainly we can quantify that as
Okay,
it would be
probably
considered.
estimate how much.
I'm not sure at,
Okay.
at this time.
So I just for example, it may be 5,000 or 10,000. Okay, yeah. Oh, let me, yeah. If like for example, I may be asking Mark. Okay, around like 10,000 expense. So maybe we can set up a goal. Okay, at least we can got like a fundraising to help our local the nonprofit organization around the minimum amount, like maybe 10,000. Because you know why? Because we just say the 50%. So accountability, transparency. How can we know it, right? Even people will be asking, hey, how much you raise it? How much you expense, right? How much they will be do a lot of things. That's because I do a lot of community service. I faced this same question before. Okay, so that's why I give to you maybe some idea. I don't know the rest of council member okay too. So that's why I'm asking. So I think if like we estimate 10,000, maybe there we have a goal 10,000. Maybe community, I think, more understandable. We support this kind of event, right? Mm. The whole event, the event, yeah. It's not us, okay. No, not the city, okay. But city already, right? It's the will be included waive the fee or not? The way we are.
Yeah, so we're waiving the fees.
We'll waive the fee, so that's why I think suggest, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, so much. Thank you, councilmen and women. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you.
But we haven't voted yet.
Thank you ahead of time then.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Thank you. If it is the decision to amend the conditions, I would recommend that section 3, which is at the end of the conditions, also be changed to state the event will be supported by the city in the form of city providing staff support and waiver of event fees.
Which one?
It's the resolution.
Page 3?
Section 3 of the resolution.
Page 3, section 3 of the resolution.
Okay.
Page 10 of the agenda item.
Just adding the words "and waiver of the event fees."
Can you summarize the full motion? Because we've had 2 amendments now. We got adding 50
Yeah.
with
Well,
wording.
We can say we're going to want to approve the 3 items as amended. And the staff has taken note of the amendments we've asked for.
Well, could he just repeat it so make sure everybody understands? Because we've been having a lot of conversation.
Trying to capture number 50 from Vice Mayor's suggestion. Applicant shall provide accurate accounting for the event and shall donate 50% of net revenue to the city and local nonprofits.
Oops, the other item was,
And the section 3 will be amended to say the event will be supported by the city in the form of city providing staff support and waiver of the event fees.
that's 2. Was there anything else we changed? That was it. Okay, well, I'll move to motion on this resolution with the amendments just listed.
I'll second.
Okay. So, so the motion after amendment, okay. The motion made by the council member Menchaca and second by Vice Mayor Harrington. Yeah, let's take the vote. Okay.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you all. I won't let you down.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item, please.
Item B, Fund Balance Reserve Policy Amendment. Finance Director Kaholakula will make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. The item tonight is an amendment to the city's fund balance reserve policy. After reviewing the current reserve policy and contemplating the necessary reserves for the city, this amendment provides significant updates to the fund balance policy, including focusing the purpose and objectives of the policy, adding reserve policies for the replacement of capital assets, and funding OPEB, as well as reserves for our retirement costs. The risk management reserve policy has been removed since the city is no longer self-insured and now contracts with the JPIA for liability and workers' comp insurance. And the hope is that this policy will provide a better and more practical roadmap for the city staff and decision makers. The purpose of the policy's purpose is to guide fiscal decision making and ensure prudent reserves for the general fund and other city funds. The objectives of the policy was to identify all significant known and contingent future expenditures where reserves should be set aside on a regular basis, develop reserve funding goals, strategies, and procedures for future known and contingent expenditures, and establish procedures to review and report the status of the city's fund balance reserves. The priorities of the policy. So the top priority for the general fund is to build contingency reserves. Once contingency reserves are built, the second tier priorities for the general fund will be to build reserves for capital asset replacements, as well as to set aside reserves and begin funding our other post-employment benefits. As the City Council is aware, based on the preliminary financial results for 21-22, the city will be meeting their reserves of 17%. The preliminary results have us at 21%. So then, with the advice of the city manager, at a future council meeting, we can contemplate what we want to do with that 4% and potentially moving it to the second priority of our reserves here, funding reserves for capital replacement or other post-employment benefits. And then lastly is our retirement fund resources policy on putting reserves aside for our retirement cost. So there's been no change to the general fund contingency reserves. The purpose of the contingency reserves is to stabilize the general fund budget as well as city operations during those unpredictable times of strife like pandemics, natural disasters, and economic downturns. Our contingency reserve goal is 17%. When we originally adopted this, we had a sliding scale of attempting to meet it in 2029, but the preliminary financial results has us meeting that goal of 17%. 17% is basically 2 months of general fund expenditures. It's the minimal recommended amount by the Government Finance Officers Association. I kind of compare that to what they say for your personal finances, that you need to have 6 months of savings set aside as kind of like your own reserve. So 17% is the minimum level. So the policy adds a capital replacement reserve. So these reserves are funds we want to set aside for those large capital assets that we need to replace in the future. These could be items like replacing a pool, replacing a roof, replacing HVAC units. Our general plan update that happens once every 20 years is projected at about $1 million. ERP systems for our financial ERP system, that's like $500,000. So these large expenditures that you don't think about until they start going, they're no longer supported or they're no longer functioning, and then you have this large ticket item. So this is the purpose of contemplating capital replacement reserves. So 2 schedules that we've added to the policy is one, a capital replacement schedule. And so this basically catalogs all of our non-vehicle capital assets. The city staff contemplated the future cost of what I just kind of mentioned, HVAC units, non-vehicle capital assets that we use in operations, the large ones, and contemplated them and put them on the schedule. It's the first iteration. It'll be updated on an annual basis. It lists out the estimated replacement date as well as the estimated replacement cost. The second schedule is a vehicle replacement schedule that catalogs all of the city vehicles with the estimated replacement date and the estimated replacement cost. There are 2 funds to accumulate reserves for the capital asset replacement. We're proposing a capital replacement fund where the general fund could transfer funds to the capital replacement fund to begin building those reserves to replace non-vehicle capital assets. It will be a fund within the city's budget. It will consolidate with the general fund and increase the unrestricted fund balance in the general fund. And the second place where reserves for vehicle replacements will be accumulated, it will be in the current fleet services fund. It's an internal service fund, and that's where funds will be accumulated in there to replace city vehicles. The funding of the plan, so since this is a second tier priority reserve, after meeting our general fund reserves, this is where we can contemplate if we want to make transfers into a capital replacement fund, if we want to start taking some of our excess reserves and start putting them away for those large capital assets that we may want to replace in the future. Now that we've met our 17% goal, and talking with the city manager, once we finalize our financial statements and we get the financial results audited and we have our certified auditor results of what our results are going to be for the year, then we'll bring an item back to contemplate the excess reserves beyond the 17%. The funding plan for the Fleet Services Fund, currently on an annual basis, reserves are set aside in the Fleet Services Fund. It's based on the annual depreciation of the current vehicles, and that happens as part of the budget process. So here's just the schedules that I was talking about, a capital replacement schedule. This is the first iteration of it. It'll be updated on an annual basis, and and we've tried to brainstorm all the items that will need to be replaced in the future. We got an estimated replacement date on there, and then as well as the funding source and the estimated replacement cost. And this is an excerpt of the vehicle replacement schedule. All of the city vehicles with the estimated replacement cost as well as the estimated replacement date. So this will help us forecast into the future how much we will need for each fiscal year moving forward. The other policy that has been added is funding for our other post-employment benefits, or the retiree health care that is provided to city employees. Currently, we have a $48.2 million liability as of our June 30, 2020 evaluation. Our current funded percentage is 14%. Our goal is 17%. We're on a pay-as-you-go basis, so as the premiums become due for the healthcare, that's when we pay them. The alternative would be to pay as the benefit is earned. So each day that a full-time employee works, technically they're earning the benefit. So two places contemplated to accumulate the funds for the OPEB obligation. One is a proposed new city fund called the OPEB Obligation Fund. The city, the general fund would make transfers into the OPEB Obligation Fund. It would be an individual fund for budget purposes. It would roll to the general fund and increase the unrestricted fund balance of the general fund. The city will have flexibility on what they want to do with those funds, but it will not increase the funding percentage for of our OPEB funding plan. The second funding area is a third-party OPEB trust. This is where currently the city does have a trust that is funded which makes up that 14%. Any transfers to the trust are irrevocable. They can only be used for OPEB, and balances in the OPEB trust reduce the OPEB liability or increase the funding percentage. Similar to what we talked about in the capital replacement, now that we've met our 17%, an item will come back to consider what we want to do, maybe with the difference between the 17% and the 21%. And so, and then retirement fund reserves. The city receives a restricted tax revenue to pay for its pension costs. It's all recorded in the city's retirement fund to pay for the city's pension cost. The current liability as of the June 30, 2020 valuation is $75.7 million liability. Our funded percentage based on the 2020 valuation is 67.4%. That amount has gone up based on the latest actuarial that we just received a few days ago. So we are above 70% now. We've added a schedule to forecast our future pending costs, the pension funding forecast. This forecasts our future pension cost, our future retirement fund revenue, and then the potential reserves or shortfalls that the retirement fund will have. Three places to accumulate funds to set aside reserves to pay for the CalPERS pension liability. One is we can keep it in the current retirement fund, our special revenue fund that we currently have. We can open a pension pre-funding trust and transfer money over to the trust. The benefit of sending it to the trust is the opportunity to earn a higher rate of return on the money that we want to set aside for our pension cost. Money in the trust does not reduce the pension liability. And then the third option is to make additional payments to our pension plan, also called additional discretionary payments to CalPERS. Once these payments go to CalPERS, the city no longer has control over it. It funds the pension plan, and then it will increase the funding percentages, the benefit of making additional discretionary payments. So some procedures have been added to the fund balance reserve policy on an annual basis. We'll update the forecasting schedules of the capital replacement schedule, the vehicle replacement schedule, and the pension funding forecast. There'll be recommendations to fund those second-tier priority reserves of the Capital Replacement Fund and the OPEB Obligation Fund, or the OPEB Trust. And then also, potentially, as part of the budget process, we could budget funds from our retirement fund to make payments to our pension plan, additional discretionary payments, or make payments to the pension trust. And then we're also, as part of the budget process, setting aside reserves for vehicle replacement. As far as reporting of our reserves, we'll report on our reserve levels at multiple times during the presentation of our annual comprehensive financial report, which will happen in January and February, during our mid-year budget update, our annual budget adoption, as well as tonight, our preliminary financial results for the fiscal year end. And that concludes the presentation. Staff is recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the amended fund balance policy.
Okay, thank you, Will. Does any council member have extra question for the staff for clarify? Okay, Councilmember Wu.
Yes, Mayor Ding, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Well, it's a great presentation. I do have a question regarding the new policy probably adopted from the state that we will need to change all the vehicles to clean vehicles. But those vehicles are maybe will have some more appliance, for example, the EV charger, the solar panels. They may require some other different hydrogen tank. So where's the balance? I mean, when we doing when we trying to find the funds, or the how we allocate those kind of funds from this plan?
So those funds, you know, vehicle replacement. So we are setting aside money to replace our city vehicles. So we are, based on the depreciation of our current vehicles, we have money coming into our fleet services fund. So there are reserves being built in the fleet services fund for vehicle replacement. So those would be, if it's vehicle related, that's where we would look to pay for the replacement of the vehicles. We also have we would also receive air quality management control district funds that are restricted for expenditures that reduce the air pollution. So those potentially could be another funding source outside of the fleet services fund.
Thank you. All right. So, Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no cards. Is there anyone wishing to address council? No, Mayor.
Okay. It's now time for the council delivery and the discussion. Who will be? Okay, okay, Councilmember Menchenko.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify the 21% general fund reserve percentage that changed. That's for the 2021, 2022 year. What was the original percentage that we had estimated?
I believe if I recall correctly, I believe the estimated was about 13 to 14%.
Okay, that's what I recall too. Okay. And why do you think it's gone up? Well, you know why, but why don't you explain why it went up so significantly?
Sure. I don't want to steal the thunder for the next presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But since you asked, you know, the third and fourth quarter were really good economically for our city funding sources. Our sales tax did very, very well. They were up in the 20 to 30% for the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So overall, economically, the city was doing really well. Our TOT you know, I think there was a little kind of slowdown back in October of the year when
Why don't you explain what TOT is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Our transient occupancy tax, these are the taxes we receive for people who stay in our hotels in the city. So the last 2 quarters of the year were very strong for our hotel taxes, and they are almost back to pre-COVID levels. So those returned and increased by about 1.1 million from the prior year. And then on the expenditure side, all of our city departments held within their budgeted amounts. They were actually able to spend less than what they were budgeted. So the projection at that time had them spending up to their budgeted amount. So they were the amount that they spent under increased the net change in fund balance and the unrestricted.
So it's fair to say we're in really good shape financially. We've kind of steered it back onto a good path. And so then that leads me to my next question is, what's the impact now on the state audit? You know, what was it, 2 years ago now, or 3 years that they gave that report? Mm-hmm. Is this going to assist, or, because I know that state audit is not like a general accepting
Right.
principal audit, it's accounting principles. It's completely different. They have different metrics. So how does this impact that audit?
The challenge, one of the frustrating challenges with the state audit is that they're 14 months lagging. So the report that they're going to be coming out in the next couple months is based on June 30th, 2021. Mm-hmm. So the fiscal year that we just ended, we're in a much better financial position. June 30th, 2022, that will be reported on in August of 2023. So all of the progress that we made during this last fiscal year really won't be reflected in the state audit because they're 14 months lagging.
So they don't even have like a special mention, like for audit reports, there's always something that's taken place after the fact, after the period ending. There's always some kind of comment just to let the reader know some of the progress. There's nothing like that with the state audit then?
Not that I've read. It's pretty much cookie cutter. They have their formulas that they use. They don't look at any of the qualitative stuff. It's all quantitative.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is section is the topic is talking about just the fund balance, the reserve policy, right? Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned minimum reserve, it's 17%. That's minimum. That right now, the previous years, how much percent we can reserve?
Yeah, last fiscal year, June 30, 2021, we had no unrestricted general. We had no reserves.
No reserve.
Yeah, we had.
How about back to last 5 years?
Yeah, the last time,
5 years.
The last time we had unrestricted reserves was June 30th, 2015.
2015. After then, don't have it. We didn't reach the 17% goal. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then
so right now we set up a policy. It's looks like based on your policy, it's until 2029. We hopefully can reach the 70% goal. Is that right?
The policy was just kind of carried forward from what we had in the previous policy. No changes were proposed.
Okay.
You know, that was established when we were going through not having any reserves.
Okay.
And then now with this return, we have met the 17%. We have met our minimal general fund reserves.
Okay. All right.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. In addition to what Will said, so because our numbers right now are unaudited, we're not recommending you change the fund balance policy to increase that to the 17% and just have that as the minimum.
Okay.
But once the audited numbers come back in December or January when we present those to council, and as part of the budget process for next year, we will recommend that instead of having that sliding scale, we all come up with a minimum that we agree we won't drop below.
Okay.
17% is the minimum that's recommended, as Will said, by the Government Finance Officers Association, but better cities strive for higher numbers, so ours could be you know, 20, 25, something like that, and we could have a scale to get to that kind of a balance over time, or we could leave it at 17 and help fund some of these other items that he talked about earlier, which are the capital replacements, things like police stations, those kinds of prudent expenditures.
Yeah. So that's why I think that first of all, like the 17%, that's a minimum goal. Looks like we at least will try achieve this goal. And like you mentioned, if the like city is healthy, the city, what's the percentage? It's a goal. That's I want to learning too. Like Mark just mentioned, the 20 or 25. Is that correct? It's if we're healthy, the city, if the reserve fund. So what's the percentage?
You know, I think just in comparison, we've heard of some cities having like 50% reserves or 100% reserves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will, do you remember from the chart that the state audit uses with the max points they get is something like 80%?
I thought it was 50%, and you get like the maximum number of points that the state audit like at, I think it's the 50% level, and then you can get the max 30 points for the state audit.
Okay. So if we go for the 50%, so our credit rating will be really high, right? We can got the loan loan interest will be less, right? Okay, and also can help our like I saw you have will be reserve some fund. Okay, you talking about to schedule the monitor fund needed when it's a capital replacement, when it's a vehicle replacement. Okay, so currently, is there any fund inside right now? Because previous no balance, no reserve fund, so we still have balance for these two funds.
The fleet services fund does have some reserves in there for our vehicle. I mean, for our vehicle replacements.
Free service fund. Okay.
Yeah, our fleet services fund does have some. And the capital replacement fund, that would be a new fund that we would establish, and currently it doesn't have any money in there.
Okay, right now this is zero, right?
Zero, yeah.
So even like a future, we really want to do the like a building, especially from actually. That time I'm just a resident. I really like to hear about our police department, the building. So it will be help to create this kind of reserve fund, right?
That could be a use for it, where we start setting aside funds to build in that fund.
Okay.
And then we could spend it out of that fund.
Okay, that's good. So we have something started for our policy. Okay, that's my comments. Thank you. So
I'll move to approve the recommendation.
I second.
I'll second. Finally.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the motion made by the council member Menchaca, second by the Mayor Ding.
Thank you.
Okay. And then
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. So you want to move to the next item, or want to take a break? Health break? Okay. All right. So health break.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. My name is Michelle Marquez, and I am the Management Analyst in the Finance Department. Tonight's presentation will be the preliminary financial results for fiscal year 2021-22. The preliminary results for the fiscal year ending June 30th are unaudited. The revenue received in August has been projected, and the majority of all 21-22 payments have been paid. Tonight's presentation will include the projected net change in fund balance, the projected year-end revenues, projected year-end expenditures, ending fund balance, and general fund reserves. This slide reflects the net change in fund balance over the last 5 years. The projected net change in fund balance for fiscal year 21-22 is $9.8 million. General fund revenues for 21-22 is projected to come in at $54.5 million and expenditures at $44.74 million. This will be the 4th year in a row the city has had a positive net change in fund balance. This table reflects actual revenue by category from 18-19 to 21-22. Fiscal year 21-22 is projected to be higher by $6.5 million as compared to last year. The categories with the largest increases from the prior year include taxes at over $4 million, intergovernmental at $1.2 million, and charges for services at $864,000. Revenues was led in 21-22 by increases by Measure SG, state sales tax, transient occupancy taxes, and utility user taxes. The city also recognized the remaining $5.9 million in ARPA revenue for fiscal year 21-22. This slide presents the expenditures by department and compares the 21-22 amended budget to the 21-22 actual expenditures. Projected actual expenditures for 21-22 is $44.7 million. This amount is $1.42 million lower than the amended budget. The general fund had net increases in budget appropriations of $2.28 million, which is due to agreements that were reached with employee groups, including some one-time costs. As compared to the prior year, general fund expenditures are higher by over $4 million. This table presents the ending fund balance for the general fund from 17-18 to 21-22 projected. The table also breaks out fund balance between restricted and unrestricted. With a positive net change in fund balance of $9.8 million, the projected ending fund balance for fiscal year 21-22 is $15.37 million. $5.9 million of the fund balance is restricted due to the collateralization of the Public Works loan. The other $9.5 million of fund balance is unrestricted, which will fund the contingency reserves. This is the first time since June 30th, 2015, that the general fund has ended the year with a positive unrestricted fund balance. The general fund contingency reserve is projected to be at 21.22%, which will exceed the general goal reserve level of 17%. In summary, the results are preliminary. The revenues are projected at $54.5 million. Expenditures are projected to come in at $44.7 million. Projected positive net change in fund balance of $9.8 million. This will be the 4th year in a row the city has achieved a positive net change. The projected ending fund balance is $15.37 million, with $9.5 projected to be unrestricted. With the projected unrestricted fund balance, the general fund reserves will be at 21% of general fund expenditures. This concludes the presentation. We can answer any questions.
Okay. Does any council member have a factual question for staff clarify for the report? If not, Okay, Chief City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
I have no cards. Is there anyone wishing to address council? No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. It's now time for the council deliberation and discussion. Who will be starting? Okay. Okay, Councilmember Rivera. Okay.
We're just happy to be in a better place.
Okay.
Summarizes all. We're just happy we're in a better place than 4 years ago.
Okay.
That's our feeling.
Who else? Councilmember Wu?
Thank you, Mayor Dean. So this is the newer number for the unrestricted reserve percentage, right?
Yes.
So before we had like a $360,000 something surplus. So what is the exactly surplus number right now?
The surplus number is the ending fund balance is 15.3 million.
Say again, I'm sorry.
The ending fund balance is 15.3 million.
Ending fund balance. No. Is it as simple as the? Okay, thank you.
So, actually, I think Councilmember Wu asking to the okay until this year June 30 has any.
Councilmember Wu, I think when you're asking about a $300,000 surplus, we're talking about fiscal year 22-23 budget when we were trying to go through the budget process.
Okay.
From expenditures, revenue versus expenditures. So this 22-23 budget, not 21-22.
Thank you so much for clarifying that because it's
Yes,
the number looks a little bit off.
$360,000 surplus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, okay. Yeah, so if you know, okay, I really like this result. Okay. so feel like more better for our city the future, right? So yeah, if normally you cannot do anything, right? We need a public, the safety, public service. A lot of things still need a financial support. Yeah, but it looks like also, I hear about the tax regarding the major SG that 2 years ago it's got our resident approved. It's really helped us too, right? Yeah. So yeah, I hope resident can hear about it. So we make a good decision for 2 years ago. So help our fund balance, and then they will become the surplus, right? Okay. So,
Mr. Mayor, to highlight what you have just said, over the last 2 fiscal years, and I think the chart that Councilman Wu would appreciate seeing is the second chart that Michelle put up, which is the net change in fund balance in each of those years. And that shows what that net difference is on a year by year. So it's not that one, Michelle, but the second actual chart. There you go. And so you can see in 17-18 we were negative 4.7 million for that year alone. And then we turned things around in 18-19 with almost 800,000, and then COVID hit, and it was about 84,000. But Measure SG was passed in those next 2, and Mayor, to your point, those next 2 years, 21-22 and 22-23, that's over $17 million. About 10 million or 9.5 million of that is ARPA funds. The remaining 6 is Measure SG, and if it weren't for Measure SG, we would still be in the hole right now.
Okay.
And so it's protected our public services as the residents intended. It's kept us from having to lay off public safety and other non-sworn employees, and it's allowed us to pave streets and Mission Playhouse parking lot and those other things that would not have happened if it weren't for Measure SG.
I'm sorry, what was the amount for Measure SG for 2021?
So just those 2 years combined, between those 2 years, the excess is about $6 million. And Measure SG has provided about $8 million over the last 2 years in
Okay,
total.
so about $4 million a
in-
year.
In surplus, it's added about $6 million to our fund balance, just in big round numbers.
Our projected this year is 5.2 million for Measure SG, and last year's actuals was 4.1 million.
So 9 million.
It's annually 4.1 million, right?
About 5.
Oh,
No,
about
yeah.
5. It's annually will be, yeah, okay, additional, okay. All right. That's good. And then we need to encourage more people to spend money in our city.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Gus, the Vice Mayor Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. Michelle, good job. I know it's a little easier to give us good numbers, so we're happy with you, but really good job. Thank you.
Okay. So the staff recommendation, it's just a review and a file report. We don't need a vote, right? Okay. No vote. Okay. So we go for the next item, right? Okay. Next item.
Police annual update. Police Chief Harris will make the presentation.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Today I'm proud to be here to represent the police department and giving the police department update. I have a bone to pick with each of you on the council and the city manager in that you had me do my presentation after the guy that gave you millions of dollars. So I'll do the best that I can to live up to that. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. And his crew, they did an outstanding job, so that's really good news. So I get an opportunity to present while you're all smiling. Cool. Okay, we're going to be giving an update for the police department. All of the departments have been giving you updates. You still have a few more to go, and it's our turn today. So we're going to really take a really quick look at the early days of the police department. It'll be very brief. We'll take a look at the modern era and where we've come. We'll look at the contemporary times, the stuff that we're living through under this administration, and we'll take a real quick look at the department futures to let everybody on the dais and those members of the public know where we plan on going from here. So let's take a look at the early days, a history in pictures. You can see that these pictures go way, way, way back, and it really is a testament to what we're doing in the city, in that all of these pictures and photos can be found on the website. So I bet when these people took the picture, they never thought they'd be digitized and be there forever for everybody to see on the city website. They probably never put web and site together in any of their sentences. But as you can see up in the right-hand corner there, there's a motorcycle officer from San Gabriel that's got a shotgun attached to the front part of his motorcycle. We probably couldn't do that today. It'd be cool if we did, but then we'd have to run it through AB 481 to get it approved by council as military equipment. All right, so all of this stuff is online, and I'm going to quote some of the stuff that we have on our website just to give us perspective. The long arm of the law for the San Gabriel Police Department and its history. Law enforcement in San Gabriel had its official beginning shortly after the city incorporated on August 24th of 1913. And although the city's law enforcement was not officially referenced as a police department until some time later. I'm sorry. The first city marshal was a man by the name of Arthur E. Manzer, and he was designated the city marshal on May 13th of 1913 and had a salary of about $75. So in perspective, since you guys are doing negotiations here, $75, not quite so much, and I'm not sure what other benefits there was. So at some point, interesting factoid, when he retired, he came back to work and got a raise to $125 a month, so not so bad. Not so bad.
We'll let that guide us.
Mm-hmm. That's the guidance. If we do it by percentage, that's pretty hefty. Pretty
No,
hefty.
you said dollars.
All right. In 1923, there was a new city hall and was built at 532 West Mission Drive, and that was also the location of the police department at that time. So it wasn't until about 40 years later that the current police station was built. So right now, if you think about the station that we're waiting to get built, we're about 50, it says 50 on the website, but I think we're more like 60 years in to waiting. So we'll get there. They did during this time, and you'll see some of the breaking ground pictures of the current station with some of the elected officials and marshals from the day. You'll see where we had all of that groundbreaking, and then in the middle, that center picture is the view of the station today from on Del Mar, just north of the station. That station was built, came to fruition in 1962 on February 1. And it's still holding tough today. We're still managing to get things done. But we're hopeful that coming up here pretty soon, we'll be able to move into a new facility. If you look at the sign of the times, again, here is an old police car from the city of San Gabriel that has a shotgun attached to the hood. I imagine that during the times that was pretty, generally accepted. And again, that's a 481 vehicle. We found ways to attach guns to everything. So I'm imagining that rolling down Del Mar today, what that might happen. Your phones would never stop ringing. Now we've had at least one, but this is the most famous of the crime sprees that occurred in our town. And they actually made a movie about it. We have a copy of the movie on the reel in our little museum back at the station. But this guy's called the Man from Mars, and he was dubbed that simply because, I guess, at the time, he looked like what people thought people on Mars looked like. So there he is. Give me a second, and I'll tell you the story about him. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that is him. We have all of that equipment and that gear in a kind of a photo station at our a trophy case at our station. We're hoping that all of this and some other of the artifacts from Old San Gabriel are going to make it into the museum in our new facility at some point. So we're holding on to all of that. So I'll just read it really quickly. It says, one of the most unusual crime sprees to occur in the city of San Gabriel was perpetrated by this guy, the Man from Mars. He was 27-year-old Forrest Ray Colson and was dubbed the Man from Mars because of the bizarre clothing. He disguised his identity by wearing a leather football helmet, goggles, a gas mask, a hood, and tight-fitting black clothes that resembled a motor officer. On Thursday evening, October 12th, 1951, he ran into the wrong San Gabriel police officer, and he was killed during the commission of a robbery. And there we go, taking care of business. It is what it is, but it's a pretty interesting factoid in history about our city. On the downer, on the sad side, in taking care of business, we also have people that put their lives on the line for the residents of the city. And as you'll see, there have been two of them. Officer Elmer Griffin, whose end of watch was on February 7th, 1926, was killed when he was trying to apprehend a bootlegger, and he was killed and taken from us. And we have Officer Alvin Hayes, who was killed in a traffic collision while conducting traffic stops here within the city. So we have them up on the webpage, and we'll never forget those who give the ultimate sacrifice in service to community. You've seen here recently, we've had kind of a rash of that coming on. At some point, we'll be talking about those folks in history, and we want to make sure that we keep their memories alive, because no matter what decade or whenever it is, or maybe even coming up on the century mark here, we want to make sure we remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice both in our public service. You can judge the evolution of police departments by the evolution of their vehicles. If you look at the late 1960s and moving on up to the early 2000s, you'll see that the cars have changed. Probably a lot of the safety things have changed. That car up to the upper left probably doesn't have one single airbag in it. Imagine that. Neither of those cars have a push bumper. And as you move down to the latter part of that group, you'll start to see where we start to develop a little bit. So I was actually alive when all of these cars were in service. So I'm not sure what that makes me, a historian or just an old police chief.
Chief,
So-
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just
Yes.
wanted to let you know, you might have known this, but at the, let's see, Peterson Museum, they actually have one of the small cars, San Gabriel police cars,
Mhm.
kind of those miniature cars, at their gift shop.
Awesome.
And someone sent me some pictures, and then I heard that you have some also in your, in the front office.
We do.
And so they still have about 3 or 4 of them left, because somebody just went recently. So if you want more, it's at the Peterson Museum.
I'm all in.
Um,
I'm all in. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Thank you for that. So as we move through, we take a look at the historical part and get into the modern era. So as I told you, Arthur E. Manzer was the first marshal in the city, and you can see that that was the first badge and actual patch that they wore back then. And then we moved into the modern era, where we have basically, there were actually 11 chiefs total for the city of San Gabriel, but the two chiefs on the right made up 46 years of that chiefdom and got us through basically the modern era. So you have Chief Tudich and Chief Dave Lawton, and you can see that the changes in the badge and the patch are kind of commensurate with the change of the times. And then there was a brand new funk. From the Fresh Prince. You saw that right there, right? And then it was new times, contemporary times. And there we are. This team that we have currently working with us now, you can see the evolution of the vehicles, the badges and the patches. We're trying to bring ourselves into contemporary law enforcement, constantly professionalizing what it is that we do. At some point, there's going to be a police chief standing up here and saying exactly the things I said about Tudich and the rest of them about that guy. And so that's cool. So hopefully we're going to leave a legacy as an organization, as a group, certainly with the executives, to kind of make that a proud moment for whoever it is that's presenting that. So one of the first things that we did during the contemporary times was try to figure out how we can best professionalize our organization. One of those things was to make sure that we had effective command structure, and we came in and made a few changes to ensure that we were meeting that need. So one of the first things was to create a two-division system that was covered by two captains. These division level positions should absolutely have a captain or a commander at those levels, because the breadth of experience and knowledge that you have to run a division is like police knowledge on steroids. You just really need to be in the know and have the experience, and the only way to get that is to go through all of the things it takes to get to that position. Formerly, we had one captain and one lieutenant in the position, and the lieutenants, all of our lieutenants are great in learning the craft, the need, and we do a need assessment. You have to have that next level growth and experience to really control all these things, and I'll show you why on the next slide here, but we need to have division command. And so what I've broken down is a basic look at what the division looks like. In the admin division, you've got recruitment and training, dispatch, records, community engagement, and the budget. And then for the operations side, most of our uniform personnel would be the Patrol Bureau, Traffic Bureau, and Detective Bureau. So those are the general topics for the divisions that we have, and then the bureaus that break down from that. But on this screen, we couldn't make it big enough to cover all of the responsibilities that would be there for all of those, for those two captains, and then the lieutenants and the sergeants. And this really represents, and this will be given to the public, this represents the service commitment that we have and the number of folks that are out there and all of the things that the police department has to endeavor to do. And we try to get it all. And next year there might be more boxes on there depending on what legislation comes down and different things that we need to do to start taking charge of the next evolution of law enforcement. You can also find this on the police department's website, and I believe it's also in the budget. Okay, so it's important to really talk about the things that over the last 6 years that we've done in order to get us to where we need to be in the future. So we'll get to the organizational adaptations. These are the number of things that we've done. There are many more. We'd have to be here all day to talk about some of the smaller things, but we're going to talk about the big ones today and just take a look at how we've changed our organization. So one of the first things we did was, I said, the two-captain command structure for all the reasons that I told you. We created a community academy, and I believe it was Councilmember Menchaca who actually dubbed the name, because we originally called it the Citizens Academy like everybody else did, and determined that that could be exclusive and we didn't want to have that. So we were one of the first people to call that a community academy, and it was very, very well received, so thank you for that. The 54 SRO program, SRO stands for School Resource Officer. We immediately made all of our officers school resource officers so that we didn't have one person trying to get to every school. Everybody, including the chief of police, is engaged in going to schools. In fact, tomorrow is the first day of school, and I'll be at Dewey School bright and early, inviting the kids in and welcoming them, and meeting the principal, and so will all the other officers at the other schools in the city. We reconfigured our beat deployments. You know that when we had the train that was up before the trench was done, we had to keep officers north of the train track, because if a train came through while you were doing needing people to go to calls, you would not be able to get through to get to other calls. So back then we had to have certain people stay in certain places within the city. The trench helped us get it to the point where we could reconfigure our beat system to be more effective in providing police service. We changed our radio protocols. Our radio protocols were antiquated and were not suitable for professionalized radio systems. So we completely changed that in our call signs to do a couple of things. One, to make sure we're getting that service to the community, but two, to make sure that we're ready for any growth that we have to have in the context of providing city services. We established a K-9 program that everybody touts and talks about, that we apparently are going to get some money from here coming up in the near future, or for. And so it's been a very successful program, not only for kids and in school, but in apprehension of criminals and certainly the prevention of crime. The enhanced communication system, our Captain Nakamura has been, he's just been indispensable with what he's done to get our radio system up to speed. Just so you have an awareness of what it was, our radio system could not hear, our officers could not hear the station or the dispatch hear the officers anywhere past Soto going eastbound or westbound on the 10 freeway, and we couldn't get much further than El Monte on the 10 freeway going east. And now we can catch that. I have a radio in my car that gets it at my house in Jurupa Valley, and we can take it almost county-wide, even up into the hills, and be able to hear it very clearly. It's an outstanding transition to the ICI system that we're a part of, and it has taken us into the next level of law enforcement. Improving staffing models. We've changed a lot of the things that have to do with our staffing models. We've now moving to 8 dispatchers so that we can put more uniforms in the field. I think it's been very effective. By the end of this year, we'll have our 8th dispatcher, and we should be cooking with gas and getting stuff done and making sure our people are out in the field doing what needs to be done. And all the people that we've hired for these dispatch positions are doing very well. The internal affairs overhaul, one of the most important issues that we've dealt with was completely transitioning to a internal affairs protocol that allowed us to do the best and most detailed internal investigations and meet all the legislative requirements in the way that we store and keep track of all of our IAs for the Department of Justice. And so every one of our sergeants and lieutenants has been to IA school, so that no one person is doing all of the IAs, and everybody can get an opportunity to learn and grow. And if they're entrenched in learning that program, maybe we can keep a lot of people out of trouble, and it seems to work very well. One of the most important things that I'm proud of is when we first got here, we started with a line team building workshop, very similar to what the council and the staff did here a week ago, in trying to figure out what the people in the organization thought they needed. We had a line personnel team building workshop that we paid for, and it was very fruitful, helped us learn how the employees saw the organization, saw the police department, so that we could move forward in making some of the changes that needed to be made. The body-worn camera, we've done the testing on that, and we've ordered our cameras. They are not up yet. They would have been, but they sent the wrong cameras to us, and we're just waiting for them to get off the ship that's sitting out in the harbor and get to us so we can put them to work. But that program isn't, the policy is in full effect. We're ready to go with that, so that's going to be a very, very influential program. Community engagement became a part of what we do. We started to include it in our performance evaluations. So we include that in everybody's performance evaluation, that the expectation is that they're going to be involved in community. Some people will do it willingly, some people will do it begrudgingly, but they're going to do it. And the whole thing is to make sure that we're out there in uniform representing the police agency with the members of the community. We renewed the bike program and improved it to the extent that we got more bikes, brand new bikes, included more people, and we even got some electric bikes that were donated from I forget who donated it. I'll get that. Was it BMW? It was BMW, yes. And they're electric bikes now. The folks are driving around out there taking care of business and avoiding soft tissue injuries because the bike's doing all the work. So we're even looking at all of that, right? That police chief, man, he's something else. Let's go. The tech transition. We tried to hit the ground running with tech. We were in the dark ages a little bit in comparison to other agencies. But like I said, with that radio increase or improvement and some of our CAD RMS attempts to get improved equipment, we're moving forward with all of our field equipment. You can see it's some of the high-tech stuff that we have, the computer systems. We have great cars and other field stuff that we have taken care of by Greg and his folks over at the public yards. They do an outstanding job of keeping us rolling, so we're really appreciative of that. We now have a tactical training unit. We should have had that probably 35 years ago. We now have one, And what they do is they make sure that we're staying abreast of all the current tactical trends, the needs that are coming down from legislatures, both national and statewide, and making sure that we stay in tune with what needs to happen, and certainly mitigating liability. Use of force review, that goes along with the internal affairs review. We've done a complete overhaul of the use of force process within our department, and we make sure that we are keeping track of these things so that at any second we can tell you how many use of force incidents, what type of use of force incidents, and we'll never get caught slipping in a courtroom where we don't have the documentation to show what it is we're doing out here in the field. And we make sure that we take really detailed reports on our force reporting. 411 with the chief, been another success, but mainly because of that guy Greg back there from Public Works. It's now become 411 with the chief and him, and he's better than I am at it. So we're hitting the ground running, and especially with the worries and some of the things that the people in the city are concerned about, potholes, getting their streets done, and all the things you've talked about earlier. It's very important that they can come and have those questions answered, and we get those questions answered very well. And if we can't answer them there, we'll go back to them and get them later. So it's actually been a team effort, and it's working out pretty well. One of the small things, but that has gone over well with the troops, and this is again about morale and some of those things, is the modernized grooming standards. We've allowed people to come back and grow beards, within reason, even in uniform, and that has long been a staple of argument with folks, because those of us in the military just can't stand it, and the other folks, it's a natural thing. So we've got to find a way to blend, for those old timers like myself, to be able to say, I got to come into congruence with the future, man. We got to start doing things a little different, and as long as we're keeping it groomed and doing what we need to do, it's been very effective. You'll see another policy change with tattoos. I'll explain that one when that one comes out, but we're not allowing people to just go buck wild with doing what they're doing, but we certainly have to start recruiting from what today's population is, and some of those people are wearing tattoos and piercings and different things, and we have to keep that stuff into consideration. So that's one of the other things that we're doing. Multicultural immersion, we have made everything that we do about culture and changing the culture here so that we can address the culture there, and that's exactly what we'll do at every turn, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Camp SG is another of those big things that we really love. We can impact the community, and as soon as the camp is rebuilt up there, we'll be back at it. YMCA is doing the best they can to get it running, and you'll always see those volunteers, including myself, spend a week up there at camp with the kids and doing all that good, really cool camping kind of stuff. The new mission, vision, and motto. Again, you guys, as a council, did an exercise where you came up with a new mission and a vision that you were working on at the last time we were at the Playhouse. We did this back in 2021 at our executive or our command level team building workshop, and I will go into that a little bit later in the presentation. Station upgrade. Again, I got to give kudos to my man Greg back there. He's hooking up the station so that we can have some more room. We're trying to get out of the 1960s and move a little bit into the new millennium and get it working. So it's actually working out very well for us, and there'll be some pictures here shortly of that. We also created a Public Information Bureau, which is outstanding in that it really professionalizes our information delivery system. And with Clara and some of the folks from the fire department and others, we've been able to put together a very professional group that keeps our information going out the way it should be and keeps it clear, concise, and deliverable. So that's been a really effective program, and the people that are working there are doing a really good job. In fact, one of them is here right now, Lieutenant Cott back in the back, who really represents the police department very well in this endeavor. The district lieutenant program, very important. Each of the 4 lieutenants in patrol are assigned one of the 4 beats, and they are an intermediate problem solving or mediation group. And so anybody in the community, if they have a long ongoing problem, can contact their district lieutenant. The contact information is on the website, and they can have that person pay specific attention to whatever that problem is, and it works out very well. It's been a very good program. We're having problems keeping up with it sometimes because of the changing that we're doing, but once we get it locked on, we got it locked on. All right, so the last 3, and they're highlighted because I'm going to show you a little bit something more on those. We've established a Community Engagement Bureau. When we got here, there was no really community engagement arm to speak of, and so it was important to get something whose very nature of their business was to interact with the community, with businesses, with students, with children, with schools, all of those things. So the Community Engagement Bureau, in my opinion, has been a great success simply in its existence. We'll keep making it better in the way that it provides the service, where it's just something that has just landed in the community and been a really, really big hit, especially with the school districts and their management. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. 24th Century Community Report, another one that was completed by Captain Nakamura, which is a report that you should have in your notes, and I'll go over that just a little bit in a few minutes. But what that report was us answering the call to Obama's 21st Century Policing, the pillars, the 6 pillars, and how we were going to respond to that, and how some of the things that we've done have come to fruition is in that packet that I gave you, also made available to the public on the website. And the last one is our Marshall Satellite Station, which we are very proud of. And we think that it's done a great job at really reaching out to the community in the southern end of the city, and being a place where people can come with that beautiful park that's right next door to it, and working with the Garvey School District on the facilities to really come through for us in a way that we hadn't quite imagined. We were looking for some space and looking for a place, and what we got was really a place of grace, and it really brings people on that side of the community together, and it works out like a champ. So the first one, I have a couple of quick videos to show you. They're just very short. I think they're not more than 3.5 to 4 minutes, but I want to make sure that those new council people who haven't seen it and the public can get an opportunity to see it, if that's okay. Anytime you want me to turn it off, just tell me, turn it off, and I'll get it going. San Diego Police Department is committed to understanding the importance of relationships, a relationship with every member of this community. It's no longer going to be an us against them. We are here to serve this community, and we take that part of our job very, very seriously. San Gabriel has large city issues, but with a small town feel. Very diverse, very vibrant community. One of the things we noticed when I came in is that we didn't have a community engagement arm, as it were. So we created our Community Engagement Bureau and really tried to change the culture and make sure that everybody understood that everything we do is going to be based on solid community partnerships and very good relationships.
In the San Gabriel Police Department, all officers are school resource officers. We are all trained and make daily visits to each school in the San Gabriel Unified School District.
So when they're here, there isn't a sense of fear that what's wrong, why are the police here? It's, oh, they're here. And they're really part of our school community.
Having the police officers here on campus also just makes the kids feel safe. It also makes the parents feel safe. The word that I want to say is gratitude. We just had a huge celebration, the grand opening of our satellite police station at one of our sites. You can imagine this partnership and the kind of services that we can provide for the community here in San Gabriel.
This satellite station is in the south part of town, which historically has felt underrepresented and underserved by the police department. We host some community programs out of this facility, including our Joints to Job program. It's a progressive program that the police department conceived in an attempt to find those individuals with criminal histories who are searching for opportunities to rehabilitate themselves, to find economic freedom, basically go from felon to functional. Out here in Southern California, certainly in the San Gabriel Valley,